Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some relationship stories. If you do love a relationship story, why not consider hitting that like, that subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. All really helps out the channel and I can never thank you enough for the support you've shown over these, God knows how long it is now. But thank you so much for everything you do. It really does mean the world to me. And let's crack on with today's story. And today's first story comes from a best of updates subreddit, and it's about relationships and it has several updates attached to it. The story is originally by Paperweight's Fairy but has been put together by Yeah No 30, titled The Famous Entitled Sister and Amazing OP, Part 1. My fiance and I have been together for 8 years and engaged for 3. I was doing my PhD program and was juggling planning the wedding. My fiance took much of that work, but it was perfect because our dream venue was booked till after my graduation. So what we did is book our dream venue 3 years in advance. It is a really beautiful venue. The only slot we got was September of this year. My sister got engaged a few months ago to her fiance. They were planning on having a spring wedding next year. They had no venue lined up, but had a few vendors lined up as well as a set date. Yesterday, our parents invited us and our SOs to a family barbecue, where my sister announced to our extended family that she is expecting. Everyone was so happy for her and my brother-in-law, who was a great guy. My nan asked my sister if the wedding was still on the set date or if they were going to wait because of the baby. She said no, that she hoped to move it to September. No big deal. We don't have many out-of-town guests, so they could attend to both weddings no problem. Nan was happy and asked sister if she needed help planning such a short notice wedding. My sister then turns around and said, "That's what I wanted to talk to you about. I was really hoping we could kinda like take your venue. I really cannot stress myself too much with planning a wedding while going to maternity classes, and I think it is so beautiful. It would really mean a lot to me." It went silent, but everyone was looking at me expecting me to say, "Yes, of course, everything for my little sister." My brother-in-law looked very uncomfortable and told her that they had talked about this and that it was not okay to put me on the spot. But my sister just said, "Don't be like that. My sister wants to do what's best for me, so it's no big deal, right?" I just said, "Well, it kind of is. I don't know. I have my heart really set on the venue." Cue the crying. She stormed off. Nan told me that I was being selfish because she needed the venue more than I did. I tried to defend myself and my mother said, "You waited 3 years. Would it have killed you to wait a few more months? When has your sister ever asked you for something?" A few comments later, my fiance got really mad and we left. My sister called me crying and said that it was unfair that I always get what I want and that I could have done this one thing for her. Dad said it was just a venue and what matters is the person who you are marrying. He is kind of right, but we've been planning for so long. My fiance is furious with my family and doesn't even want my sister to come. Now my family is threatening not to come because I am being selfish and my sister needs it more than me because having a baby is too stressful. Part 2. My brother-in-law called me and apologized for the inconvenience. He told me he had discussed it with my sister and she had told him she would not ask. He's properly mad with her now and warned me that my sister is blaming me for potentially ruining her marriage. My father has sent me about 5 texts along the lines of, "I hope you are happy your sister hasn't stopped crying since yesterday," and so on and so on. My fiance and I have decided to boot my sister from the bridal party and replace her with my aunt, who is the only family member that took my side. We have not decided whether or not we will invite my family as a whole. Furthermore, my mum took it upon her to tell on us. She calls fiance's parents and told them that it would be best if my sister gets it because she is pregnant and preeclampsia runs in the family, whatever that means. My future father-in-law told him to fuck off and basically rip my mum a new one for expecting something so ridiculous and that they were going to lose me if they keep playing favourites. So my mum is now crying too and saying that my father-in-law is an ass. This is just getting so pathetic. It seems straight out of a bad soap opera. My in-laws are driving to us currently with some supper and wine and basically told me not to worry and that no matter what happens, they will be my safety net. I cried of happiness. Part 3. So it hasn't been that long, but this post blew the hell up. I was expecting only a few answers, but the support was overwhelming. What boggled my mind is that this story flooded over to the mainstream media. But let's get to the story. So since this went viral, a lot happened. My sister saw this story while browsing on her Reddit account. She lost her mind. She accused me of painting her like a loony and misinterpreting facts. Info. My sister got wind of the situation due to various media outlets and went on Reddit. She said that I was being unfair, that she is family, and that she asked it nicely because she loves me. She also underlines the fact that the opinion of internet strangers doesn't count because family is more important and I should focus on making my family happy. The only text I sent back was this: I am sorry that you perceived it that way. I did not in any matter distort what happened. As you might notice, I didn't describe your tone nor exaggerated anything. Perhaps you have that night different in your mind than I do, but I digress. I'm sick and tired of bending to your will. My whole life I have been your servant and your doormat. Remember all the birthdays I had to share with you because you would throw a tantrum because you didn't get presents, or when you cried so that I would fill out job applications for you. But the thing that hurt me the most till now is when you ruined my graduation. I am done. I admit that I also spoiled you, but I will not any longer. If you want to marry so bad before your baby is born, then you could look at Hotel X that offers last-minute weddings. I've spent too much time planning my wedding to gift it to you. And if you want to ruin our relationship over this, then go ahead. I will sleep sound and safe knowing that it wasn't my fault. She only sent me a "wow, you must love me so very much" and blocked me. She unblocked me this morning to send me this. And I assume it's quoted from the wedding planner because it says, "Wedding planner says, hello dear, I got the message from your mother and will proceed with the rebooking of the venue on the spot. However, this will have extra costs as we will have to change the names on the contract. Please come by my office tomorrow so we can sign the contract." Then the sister replies, "That's great, I'll be there at 9. And a small little interlude before we move on to the next section, and I am just blown away, that not only is this family enabled this sister to get away with, her selfish behavior for so long, and they continue to do it, and even OP has sort of admitted that they have done this as well, but won't any further. But they continue to do it to this extent about someone's wedding, expecting them to gift over all their wedding planning and everything to their sister because they want to get married before they have a baby, and they all think this is acceptable behavior. Couple of questions going through my mind at the minute is, why is, sister's fiance still with them? They clearly don't agree with their behavior. And also, thank goodness for the in-laws in this situation, that they will be your safety net, and that must be an incredibly lovely thing to hear in this current situation that's going on, to know that you're not alone in this and you do have backup if when something does go wrong, which we don't know what's going to happen yet. So let's carry on with the next section of the story. My parents haven't actually written me since the thing with my father-in-law. My older brother, yes, I have an older brother, but he lives in another city and wasn't at the barbecue. That's why I didn't mention him. Plus, he initially could not come to the wedding because of work and changed his plans after hearing about all the story. Contacted me and wanted to know what happened because he got a weird story from Mum and Dad. Mum had told him that I offered previous to the barbecue to give up the venue to my sister and that I humiliated her. I told him what really happened and he had no problem believing me. We talked a lot about our parents' behaviour and he confessed that him moving was partly due to our parents being, and I quote, shitheads to us. He told me that Mum had gotten wind from the post and was mad at me for betraying my family. I haven't written my parents what so many of you advise me to because I have to come to terms with the fact that they love my sister more than me, if they love me at all. The wedding. We sat together and put passwords with majority of our vendors and also with the venue directly. We didn't talk to our planner yet, which is why the text of my sister worries me so much. Also, we cancelled the catering that my parents paid for. So short term, we won't be able to get a full catering like we wanted to. But all of our friends and my fiance's family will help us prepare a buffet, and everyone is going to chip in. That will be our bachelor party. As we will have to spend more on our food now, we cancelled our bachelor parties and will have a family and friends cooking session. Thank you again for helping me see how toxic my family is. I will try to sort it out. If they apologise from the bottom of their heart, they will be allowed into my wedding, but if not, then well, I still have my brother, who will be walking me down the aisle, and my aunt. Part 4. We called my planner and she is actually really horrified. She told me that she never had as much as talked to my mother since the day we went to book the venue. She assured me that even if they were to call and say that I wanted it, I had to be present to make any changes. So we informed everyone that will work for us on our wedding, and they offered to hire security for that day at a reduced price. And the next section does move into the update. So the wedding planner didn't even know what was going on, so the mum is just making this up and hoping that somehow it will still go ahead. What is going through these people's minds? What are they thinking? What is their outcome? What is their end game in this? Did they think OP's magically going to go, okay, that's it then. I'm losing my venue to my sister because my mum said that she contacted the wedding planner and that's it. I mean, come on now. And what really worried me is towards the end there, and then OP sort of said, if the family do apologize, they can come to the wedding. And I thought, really? Do you really want these people at your wedding? And I know it's incredibly difficult with family. It's very easy to throw that out there, even when family can be incredibly toxic, because we grow up with these people thinking, this behavior is okay, when we need to learn that it's not. But I'm glad that in the end that the venue said, that they can hire security at a reduced rate, and I wonder if they're going to need it in our next update. So let's head straight over there to find out what happens next. Update. I hope this time that it doesn't get removed, or at least give me some reason. Damn it, mods. A few days have passed and we luckily have sorted many things out. Passwords are set with the vendors, security has been hired, recipes for the family and friends cookout have been chosen, and I will start therapy soon. Sadly, some upsetting things have happened as well. My sister, of course, is brigading me against me on Facebook, making constant passive-aggressive remarks, saying that I made her depressed, etc. I've received many messages from her friends saying that I am a bitch for treating her that way. I won't mention what happened to brother-in-law. He wants to tell his story once he is ready. I blocked every attempt at online harassment and my sister as well. But 2 days ago, my sister's best friends egged my car. I called the police and my neighbor, whose hobby is to look outside the window and spy on people, identified them too. She is a grumpy lady but actually very lovely once you get to meet her. Now to the part that has me fuming. After not talking to my parents in several days, they called and asked if we could talk things out. I was wary but agreed to meeting them with my fiance in our apartment. When they arrived, you could tell my mum had been crying, and I honestly felt bad for 10 whole minutes. Many of you guys said that they probably played favourites to avoid my sister's meltdowns, or that she might have been diagnosed with something and that's why they baby her. Well, no. Turns out my sister is, like also many of you suspected, just an asshole. No medical history, no diagnosis, nothing. We started chit-chatting awkwardly, then we began talking about the matter. My father first asked why we cancelled the caterers, to which my fiance responded that we didn't want to have anything they could hold over our heads. Insert surprised Pikachu face from both of them. Dad acted offended and said he would never, so that to which I said better safe than sorry. My mother continued with calling me disrespectful for talking in that manner to them. I called them disrespectful for all they had said and done over the last few days. We got in a heated argument about the venue again, to which my father repeated the "it doesn't matter where you get married but the person you are marrying" bullshit. And finally, I gave him the comeback so many of you guys wanted me to give. Yes, Dad, exactly, but isn't it weird how that only applies to me and not my sister? As long as she is marrying brother-in-law, it doesn't matter where, right? It was dead quiet and my father was red like a tomato and gasping for air like a fish on land. My mother was quietly crying again, so I said, "Well, I'm waiting for your reasoning." My father slapped his hands on the table and went on a rant about family and sacrifices and how a loving family should do what's in their power to make each other happy. I just responded like how you tried to make me happy on my graduation day. You know, when sister smashed my cake because she wasn't in the limelight. Quiet again. My mother quietly said, "Why'd you hate her so much?" I looked at her and said, "I could ask you guys the same thing." Again, nothing. My parents knew that they had fucked up, but they were not ready to admit it. My mother tried to guilt trip me saying that my sister is miserable, that she hasn't gone out in days because people judge her so much. My father went on a tangent on how my little sister just needs more time and attention because she is the youngest, etc, etc. So basically excusing her behaviour. I told them that I felt hurt because I now saw their blatant favoritism, that they didn't even try to conceal the fact that they loved my sister more. My mother tried to say, "That's not true, we love you all the same." I wasn't having it. I opened the list I had written on my phone, where I'd written every point I could remember about them putting my sister before me. It was a very long list. Some had dates on it, some were more specific situations. When I was finished, my parents were horrified, beet red, and near tears. They wanted to start explaining again how I was wrong, but I said that this conversation was leading nowhere. They either set family counselling up for us and apologised to me, or they won't be invited to the wedding. They left and haven't called since. And as you may have noticed, we haven't got to the wedding part yet, so there is an update too, which we're going to dive straight into. Update 2, the wedding. Finally, I get around to writing an update. I'm sorry that it took so long, but I have a few updates to my life. I guess, however, that you guys are mainly here to see how my wedding played out and the aftermath with my family. After I last spoke to my parents, they did not let go of their position. I was the bad guy. I was responsible for my sister's depression and her failing relationship. It went so far that I had to block them and change my number, as they were contacting me from relatives' phones and so on. It was a real bummer, especially during a time that should be so special. I was harassed by my sister and her entourage on Facebook and Instagram, so I simply deleted it. It was a mentally draining time, but my husband's family and friends and my brother helped me get through it. I had basically cut off every family member that had given me shit for keeping my wedding date. My nan came to my door a few days before the wedding, begging to let her come. I had a long talk with Nan and she ended up apologising, even though she still failed to see the logic in switching weddings. But she did not want to pressure me and wanted to be there for me. We hugged it out, but our relationship is not back to normal yet. The bachelor party was amazing. We were cooking until dawn and everything turned out to be delicious. My husband made a beautiful 3-layered cake. Wedding day. The morning was really good and relaxing. My bridesmaids and I got ready. We drank some Prosecco, made pictures. My dress fit perfectly and I looked gorgeous. But then came time to leave for the ceremony. We were at the venue making before pictures with my friends when I saw the little car of my sister approaching the venue. Admittedly, I was shitting my pants. Or well, my dress. One of my friends ran to the venue to get one of the security people that we hired. I really didn't want another Hulk smash moment at my wedding. She had been angry crying, and as soon as she saw me, she started screaming obscenities. Apparently, I am a filthy bitch that made her fiance break up with her. She was like possessed, and at that moment I couldn't help but feel pity for her. A thing to explain is that in the mornings, the plants are always watered at the venue by some of these sprinkler systems. Thus, the earth was a bit muddy. The next thing happened really fast. My sister bent down to take mud and was getting ready to throw it at me and my dress when my maid of honor sprinted towards her and pushed her so that she fell with her butt into the flowers. The security officer arrived seconds later and removed her, and with that, I had enough ammunition to file for a restraining order against her. I didn't even want to file a police report at this point. I just wanted her to stay away from me. The rest of the day was just amazing. I married my best friend, the love of my life and just my rock. My brother walked me down the altar. We all cried at the vows. It was just spectacular. Of course, I missed my parents, but it is what it is. The celebration was very funny. My husband had studied choreography to a Taylor Swift song with his groomsmen, and the speeches could have been from a stand-up club. We left for our honeymoon, and when we came back I decided to start looking for jobs in a different city. I didn't want to lose my friends, but I just felt like I needed a clean break. I got a new job at a university in a bigger city, and we are currently in the process of moving. But maybe the biggest change, and also the most cliche change, is that I am pregnant. It is a classic honeymoon baby. We haven't really told anybody now in fear of something happening, so you nice people of Reddit are the first ones to know, besides my husband and me. I am so excited that I am tearing up just writing this. This was not something we planned for a few years, but we are ecstatic regardless. I have only heard through people in town about the rest of my family. My sister is still going around telling people that I was the reason brother-in-law broke up with her, and that I was trying to dox her or some shit. She has moved in with my parents again and refuses to work. Nan told me that the last time she saw my parents, they looked exhausted because my sister was behaving like a baby. I guess their parenting is catching up with them. I can only say that I am really happy right now. It hurts having lost family, but at the end of the day, cutting out toxic people is the best I could do. I now have a husband and a honeymoon baby on the way, my very own family, oh, and a shiny backbone. Thank you, Reddit, for reassuring me that I indeed was not being selfish, that my family was not in the right. Thank you so much for just writing your comments supporting me. I even took up therapy, but I have to say, I am really enjoying life. Thank you for everything. And there was lots of comments on this one, lots of people just congratulating OP for, getting out of that situation, moving on with their life. Congrats on the baby, the wedding, all that sort of stuff. Sounds absolutely amazing. I totally agree with it. Some people questioning the post itself. Is it real? Whilst others replying, these situations happen all the time, and people sharing their own stories about them as well. I could go on forever reading those. But what an absolute wild ride. The very first parts of the story had me, I was like, yeah, it's out already crazy enough, the whole family enabling this person to hand over a wedding, which is absolutely insane in itself. But then for sister at the very end to turn up at wedding and trying to ruin the day as well. I mean, not surprising in the context of things, but still surprising in some ways, But what do you guys make of this story? What would you do in that situation if you was OP? I think the only way is to cut that family out, and I think that's what OP did in the end. Even though she did let Nan back in, do you think that was the right thing to do? To me, from what OP said, Nan didn't seem like she had totally apologized for everything that happened and was still doubling down in some ways. So yeah, that was questionable for me. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. A huge thank you for spending 20 to 30 minutes with me today, getting involved in the stories, the channel. Everything you do is absolutely amazing. Don't forget we're on Twitter too, so you can join us at @MarkNarrations if you want to. You can support the channel by clicking that join button down below for YouTube, or clicking the link tree in the description for Patreon and join up there. Hugely helps out the channel, never expected though. You just being here getting involved is more than enough. Thank you for your love, your support and your time, and I will see you, you cheeky so-and-so, in the next one. Much love, guys.
Yeah, man, I remember being so naive when life was good, weather and palm trees. Back in the day, you were everything I need. But then along came a time when you crushed my dreams. Oh yeah, you played me like a fool when you made me believe that the line between love wasn't thick enough to read. Oh yeah, you see we in the spare